Hey everyone, welcome back to Elemental Cartomancy. I want to come on today because I got myself a new copy of the Seers Tarot, and you'll probably know if you've watched my channel for some time that the Seers Tarot is my favourite tarot deck. It's the one that I most connect with. So I got myself the French edition. I needed to get a second edition because my original copy, I edged it using the Winsor & Newton green metallic markers, and unfortunately whenever I use it now, the green pen kind of comes off on my hands. Now it's not too bad, it's only, it's getting better with time, but it's still enough to make me not want to use it, and I don't want to feel like that about my favourite deck, so I thought I need to get a second copy. So I was looking on Amazon and I saw that the French edition was available for next day delivery. £25 on Amazon, and I thought, you know what, why not? I'm going to get it. I might as well get a different edition of it, and there's no chance of me getting an indie copy. So I ordered this. Now, just to let you know, this comes in a much bigger box. It comes in this. It's one of these. Why don't we move this out of the way, Chris? It's one of these flip boxes. This is the book, and the deck sits in here. The book is in French, but Google Lens will sort that out for you. And I believe that this book actually has all of the detail that the indie book had. I've not checked it yet with Google Lens, but I'm pretty sure this is showing a lot more detail than this. So that's definitely a big plus if you can read French, of course. I don't think there's an English version of, this kind of this edition. But you can get all of the juicy detail on the Lightseers website. So that gives all of the detail on all of the cards in, I'd imagine, whatever language you need it to. So let's pop that to one side. So I thought what I would do is I would do a bit of a side by side. Now you might think, well, why are you doing that? They're just going to be the same apart from the titles, surely. Well, I've noticed that there's actually a bit of a difference in the colours. So I'll do a bit of a side by side between my original and the French edition, and just see what you think. Okay, so before I just start flipping through them, I wanted to talk to you a bit about like the makeup of the card stock, etc. Size wise, they are both more or less the same, which in comparison to a standard US games, you're kind of there or thereabouts. So you can see there's a wee bit of a difference, but not much. Cardstock though, these, I don't know if you can see in the reflection of the light there, these are much more glossy than these. Oh, well, no, they both look just as glossy, but these are the newer one that I've got, the French edition, has a much more glossy feel. I actually don't mind it. It's annoying when I'm trying to film, I will admit that much. But in terms of the slidiness of the deck, it makes it much more glidey, which I do like in a deck. But these feel more kind of a matte cardy than these do. These feel a bit more laminated. So right away with the full, you notice that there's a colour difference there. This one looks a lot more green, whereas this has more of a kind of bluey tinge to it. It's very slight, I'll admit, but it is there is a difference, and it's not as easy to see on the camera as what it is in real life. But the dress here is a much more kind of well, not much more, but it's a slightly brighter yellow than the dress here. Okay. Now the magicians, to me, look more or less the same. I can't really notice much difference apart from obviously the title. I suppose maybe the grass is a wee bit more vivid green in the English title than it is in the French. In fact, that's really showing up on the camera. It shows up more on the camera than what it does in, to the naked eye. But apart from that, they both seem more or less the same to me. Again, we're getting the kind of a greens versus the slightly more bluey color and the High Priestess's pillars here. Or Empress. More or less the same, I think, apart from the title. Emperor seems pretty much the same. So we have the Hierophant and we have Gardien du Sacre, or du Sacré, I suppose it would be because of the accent. Now, I think in the indie version of the Light Seers, the Hierophant was called the Guardian of the Sacred or something like that. So it seems that when they've kind of taken the title for the French edition, they've gone back to the original Guardian of the Sacred rather than the Pope or the Hierophant, whatever the translation for the Hierophant would be. But colour-wise, they look more or less the same to me. Our Lovers. This is maybe a bit more orangey. It's seeming on camera. This seems maybe a wee bit more red. To be honest, again, to the naked eye, I'm not really noticing too much difference. Chariot, not much difference there. Again, it does seem to be these kind of these greeny and bluey colours that we see the difference in. Hermits. The Wheel, again the background, slight difference there. Justice. This is really just giving me a chance to talk about the Light Seers. The green is much more bright in the Hanged Man here than it is in Le Pendu. Of Death and Rebirth. Temperance. The Devil, again you've got those greens and blues. Tower. You notice here that the French titles in this deck, usually when we see French titles we expect your more Marseille French titles. So for example, La Papesse, Le Pape as the Pope, and we usually expect to see La Maison Dieu for the Tower, but we have the literal translation here. We have La Tour, which I'm assuming is the Tower translated. The Star, L'Étoile. Have our Moon. I'm not seeing much difference here. Sun, Le Soleil. Le Soleil is how I learned to say the sun in French. I remember it because one of the first things we learned in French when I was in primary school was the weather. So Il fait du soleil was it's sunny. I think Le Sol is more, as I understand it, Sol is Spanish for sun, and I wasn't aware of that being a French word for the sun. So yeah, anyway. Judgment. Again, it's just those greens and blues and our world, Le Monde. Okay, what I'll probably do is I'll probably shut up now and just flip through them. Very quick flip through, I think. Let's try and get them lined up first for you, shall we? Okay. And just to quickly talk about, the courts. So Page of Pentacles, we have Page instead of Valet. So I'm assuming that Page will be a valid translation from, this meaning of page. I know that the page of a book is page, because I remember, tourner à la page 30, turn to page 30. I remember that from school. Um, Knight is, as we would expect, cavalier. It's interesting as well, we don't often see pentacles translated like this. So I take it this would be pentacle, you would pronounce that, but again, I've never seen that written in French like that. Queen, as you would expect, la reine, and king, le roi. And you can see what I'm talking about with you can't really see it very well, but this hand is now covered in pen because I've been flipping the old deck with it. So before I let you go, what I will do is, as usual, I'll talk a wee bit about how the new deck now, let's just talk about the French edition. I'll zoom back out. So shuffle wise, it's quite sturdy. I think it's the same cardstock as the French edition of the Lumina Tarot. So for anyone who has that, it's quite similar cardstock. So it's quite sturdy. I would compare it if anyone has the New Era Elements Tarot. It's that more kind of a sturdy type. You can still riffle it, but it's not as easy as your standard kind of a like US games cardstock. Certainly not as easy to riffle shuffle as your Llewellyn cardstock, which is a dream to riffle shuffle. Obviously, with the size, easy enough to overhand. We can get some fancy overhand shuffling done. I'll pause the feed. I'll give this a proper shuffle, and then we'll come back and just do a quick sample spread. How about that? Okay guys, so I've been shuffling away. There's just another couple of things I wanted to show you with regards to the cardstock. So one of the things that you'll notice is that this deck does bow. I think because it's all right to riffle shuffle, like to do the actual riffle, but it's not quite as easily to bridge. So I found myself just riffling it and not bridging it, which does kind of lead it to bow in one way. Doesn't really bother me as far as I'm concerned. I would rather have my cards properly shuffled and they be bowed than, you know, than feel as though they're not being shuffled right. And the other thing was just to kind of show you what I mean by the kind of a glidiness. So if you like to spread your cards out and pick from the deck, then this is a nice one for doing that with. Whereas the old edition, the English edition, I suppose you would call it, was really not very nice for doing that with. You would kind of have to do that. So yeah. Anyway, I thought what we could do is let's just pull some cards to look at what the month of April has in store for us. We're on the 28th of March just now. So a couple of days left in March, a few days left in March, and then we're into April. So let's look and see what April has in store. Just a kind of a general reading for the collective. That Four of Cups has popped out twice now, so I think that wants to be there. I mean, not the most positive card to have. Okay, let's see. So I'll do a 5-card spread. I'll do it in the shape of a cross. We'll have present, or what's kind of a happening in the month of April. Past, or what are we taking forward, perhaps from the past, or perhaps from March. Future, what are we working towards? And then we have like the kind of a conscious and unconscious, or our aims, and something that's hidden, something that we're maybe not seeing as much. And we're not seeing as much of the cards because Chris needs to zoom out a wee bit more. There we go. Okay, and apologies for the funny angle, guys. I had a bit of a technical emergency. I broke one of my stands by accident, and I've had to use another one, but it's not as good. I can't quite get as good an angle, as high an angle, so you're kind of seeing this from a funny perspective. Okay, we've got the sun in the present position, so that suggests that just in general, April's looking quite good. It's looking good for growth. It's looking good for our soul, I suppose. A time of happiness, a time of joy. Ten of um, 10 of Batons or 10 of Wands in the past does suggest that maybe March has been quite a difficult month, and what we're taking forward, what we're taking from that is we're kind of, do you see how the person's kind of a light in the way, that you can see that there's obviously a heavy load that's being carried, but there's also something that's been achieved from it, okay? So we're lighting the way here. So the hard work that we've done in March is going to allow us to really, I mean, to see how this person's really benefiting from the light and the sun, literally. So that suggests that the work that we've put in March is going to pay off in April. Um, Unfortunately, going forward, we do have the Eight of Swords. So moving into a bit of a different phase there, kind of looking towards the future wise. It suggests that we're maybe not seeing things as they are. We're feeling a bit boxed in, a bit trapped. Maybe self-limiting thought is coming into play a wee bit. Let's look a wee bit at these cards and see what might be leading to that. So we can see that there's a big change that we're working towards. Obviously the death card means something's ending, it means transformation, or at least that's our aim. That's what we've got our mind on. We've got our aim on this kind of on this big change that we want to enforce, we want to happen. Underneath we have the Page of Cups. Maybe what we don't realise is that our head is in the clouds a wee bit. We're not perhaps seeing the situation as we need to. Maybe we're not going to be able to see that change be as successful as what we would like, and that's why we're feeling kind of just a bit having a bit more of a shit time of it, and the Eight of Swords there. So maybe that's what we're seeing, or maybe we're kind of we've got this kind of a fantastical, this fantasy about what this change is going to look like, what it's going to mean. And in reality, we've not actually thought it through, so that when the change does come into play, we're like, oh my goodness, what is happening to me? I did not foresee this at all. Like, everything's hitting me at once. I feel tied down. I feel trapped. And maybe just feeling a bit turned off about everything as well, maybe losing that emotional connection a wee bit because we didn't really look, we didn't see the full picture when we were looking what our aims were and stuff. So I suppose the good thing about a reading like this, if you take this as a reading for you, which you're more than welcome to do, is that this gives us, forewarned is forearmed. So if we know that perhaps not looking at the situation fully and properly, being a bit of a Page of Cups, being a bit in a world of your own with your head up your backside, that kind of a thing, if you're going to go about it in that way, then it's going to maybe lead to this kind of a situation. So we need to make that extra effort to look at all the possible eventualities, look at everything properly, make sure we're thinking things through. And that's what's perhaps going to lead to a better outcome than maybe what we're seeing just now. Alrighty. Okay, everyone. I will leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed this. Any questions or any comments, any thoughts, please leave me a wee comment. Take care, everyone. I shall see you all later. Bye bye.